Welcome to episode 18 of the MMG podcast. I am Chris. Welcome to week number 11 of the 2017 NFL season. And I am alone today. This is the first time this season that I am going to be doing, rolling solo, at least for this week. Gocubs has a concert, I believe. So I wish him best of luck with that. He's not attending it. He is performing it. He is a music extraordinaire, a music genius. All right? We take for granted the genius that we have here on this podcast. And it's gonna be quite the void to fill. But I'll do my best. And it was, week 10 I hyped as being like one of those weeks that it's really fun, it's really exciting, and I think the games themselves weren't as great, but it definitely solidified a lot of the perceptions of how the rest of this season are going to end up being. Like, I think that a lot of the teams that won on Sunday are going to be the teams that are going to be in the mix going forward. I think each game pretty much defined the 2017 season in a nutshell for those teams. And we're going to break down each and every single one of those games, as well as I'll give my picks, and I'll give Gocubs his picks in his absence. He did relay those to me, so he will still be participating in this week's picks, just from a distance. And hopefully, I'm hoping that I can roll through this quickly. I know usually it's my own fault that I go on for so long talking about something, but I think with Gocubs not here to have additional commentary, and maybe I could just keep myself on track, maybe I could be able to finish this before the hour is up. We'll see. I'm already 2 minutes in, but let us go ahead and start with the Seahawks at the Cardinals. A game in which the Seahawks ended up coming on top. It seemed pretty evident that the Seahawks were going to win this game pretty early on in the game. The score, I don't think reflects that's the dominance, I guess you could say, that the Seahawks had in this game. And I would say dominance in the sense that it was like blowout feeling, but you knew who the better team was on the field at pretty much every given point of the game. And it started out right away with Adrian Peterson fumbling the football, I believe on the first offensive snap for the Cardinals. Yeah, so that kind of set the mood for the rest of the game. Great win for the Seahawks, but unfortunately it came at a cost. Richard Sherman is going to be out for the rest of the year with, I believe it was a torn Achilles, if I'm not mistaken. But Richard Sherman is one of the premier corners in the league, and him being out is going to be big. He hasn't missed a game since joining the Seahawks, since coming into the league. And now he's going to miss the rest of the year, and you have to wonder how much that's going to impact that Seattle defense going forward. Him and Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor are all three of them have been the cornerstones of the franchise, and have been a big reason why the Seahawks have been so successful over the past few years. You have to wonder if that's going to really be affecting them down the road. There's a good chance it will. We'll have to wait and see. As for the Cardinals, they clearly missed Carson Palmer and David Johnson in this game. Just not a great game for, I don't think, anyone on that Cardinals team. Defensively, they played okay, but it's not really good. And I believe Drew Stanton actually went down with the injury, so we might see some Blaine Gabbert this Sunday. Oh boy, the excitement runs through my veins. I'm so pumped for Blaine Gabbert action. Anyways, let's move forward. The Bengals at the Titans, and it was came down to the wire, and the Bengals wanted to throw a Hail Mary or not wanted, but had to throw a Hail Mary at the end to see if they can, to take the game away from the Titans. It did not end up happening. The Titans, in a close one, ended up winning it. Did not get around to watching the entirety of this game, and it looks like the Titans are finding their running game again. DeMarco Murray had another hell of a day. So, it's good to see that. I don't know if Marcus Mariota is really, back in the mix in terms of, really being a great, being the great quarterback that we thought he would be coming in. Again, I haven't seen much of the game, so I really can't commentate too much on it. But based off of what I've seen thus far, that is probably my biggest concern with the Titans, is how close they've been and how dominant they can be going forward. But with all that being said, good win for the Titans. The Bengals, they fall to 3-6, and it's going to be a rough going. Moving forward to seeing, I don't know how much of a chance they have at this point of making a run at the playoffs. Let's move on. The Vikings at the Redskins. This was another game where the Vikings were dominating, and the Redskins kind of almost made the comeback, but it did not happen. The Vikings now moved to 7-2. Case Keenum had an incredible day, minus a few picks, but he really he's been an amazing replacement for Sam Bradford, and this was the first game that Teddy Bridgewater was active, so he could have been on the field. I don't know how they turned to Teddy Bridgewater at this time. I understand that Teddy has absolutely proven that he can be a capable quarterback in this league, but we don't really know what his situation is going to be like once he steps onto the field. I would love to see Teddy Bridgewater be the quarterback of the Vikings. That would be a great story. But with momentum in the Vikings' favor right now, I don't know how much you want to screw it up. Plus, it's the Case Keenum revenge game next week. He's facing his team last year, the Rams. I don't think you want to take that storyline away from us, Vikings. All right, come on, don't do that. So Vikings looking as good as ever, and the Redskins, meanwhile, many people say that this is a team that can still compete, they can still make the playoffs. I still think that they're in the mix, but they're going to have to start beating some good teams like this, and they have a tough challenge facing the Saints this weekend. So, the Chargers at the Jaguars. Oh man, was this a nail-biter. I was so, everyone was talking, once the Chargers took the lead, all right, Jaguars, it's the up and down week. It's an even week, and they lose every even week. So that means the Jaguars are gonna lose. Nuh-uh. The Jaguars were sick and tired of storylines, and they decided to extend their winning streak to 3 after they forced overtime against the Chargers, and then AJ Boye had an interception of Phillip Rivers, running it all the way to the end zone, only to be stopped just short, and they just had to kick a field goal to get it done, which they do, and they are now 6-3. They still remain with the Titans at tied at 6-3. Titans have the tiebreaker right now because they've only played once, and that was an even week. Of course, the Titans really beat up the Jaguars really badly in week 2. But what I'm looking most forward to is if the Jaguars and Titans keep this up, at least keep on each other's toes. Even if it's they lose, a week, or they each lose a week and they each win a week, they go back and forth almost in terms of the record. They stay even. I would love it to have Jaguars at Titans Sunday Night Football, Week 17. That would be incredible, and it seems like as of right now that is one of the more likely scenarios. I like it. I really like it. I hope they keep it up. They both have among the easier schedules. I think the Jaguars have the easiest. So should be interesting going forward in that division. Chargers. Hey, I said that they were an AFC playoff sleeper even with their record. I'm still gonna say that. But who knows? They can't complete games for some reason. It's just the Chargers Vex that they have to deal with, or the Chargers Hex rather, not Vex. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyways, so Chargers lose another one, and we'll see if they can rebound this week. Jets at Buccaneers. This was my lock, and I lost it. The Jets end up just after a dominating performance against the Bills, come out and are just soulless against the Buccaneers, who to this point had not had a great defensive performance all year. Except for maybe early in the season. Offense is just not getting it together, and we're dealing with a backup quarterback, and backup number one wide receiver. Or at least Deshaun Jackson had to be upgraded since Mike Evans was suspended. And I don't know really what to say about the Jets. It's now getting to the point where you kind of have to realize this is not going to be a miracle season where they were destined for mediocrity or even 0-16. Which, I mean, they're going to stay in mediocrity, just not as bad. They're not going to be like 2-14 bad, But hey, they could also drop the next 6 games, go 4-12, and the record would be kind of realistic at that point, right? Yeah, who knows? All right, and the Buccaneers though, I do think that Ryan Fitzpatrick. This is gonna sound weird right now, but the way that Jameis Winston has been playing, I feel like Fitzpatrick. This might be a hot take, actually. Fitzpatrick might have a better chance of getting this team some wins than Jameis Winston right now, who's just having a struggle hanging on to the football. I don't know. I think that they want to have Winston come back whenever he does recover from his injury, but let's see what happens. If they build momentum, if they beat the Dolphins this upcoming week, and then who do they have after that? Let's see. Have to double check this. Then they have the Falcons. If they beat the Falcons, who they're not that great this season, but if they beat the Falcons with Ryan Fitzpatrick, I think there's reason to believe, just with the Case Keenum situation with Teddy Bridgewater sitting, that keep Winston on the bench. I know that's ridiculous for a guy that was number 1 overall just 2 years ago. I think that there's reason to. I think that they'll probably end up putting Winston in, but if he has the same issues, there's reason to turn to Fitzpatrick for now. Not that they're going to give up on Winston, just he needs to maybe work on it in the offseason, because I don't know if the Bucs are going to end up making the playoffs at this point. So they got a lot of work to do going forward. But Winston's going to have a great career. I'm just saying, Fitz magic might be real. He didn't have a phenomenal game, but he had a right game to get them the win. Let's see what happens this upcoming week. Saints at the Bills. Absolutely. At first, thought this would be a game of the week. Ended up being a total domination of the Bills at home. They had a 4-game winning streak at home, or 5-game winning streak at home, I think. One of those. No, 4-game. They were absolutely not going to let someone come in and just destroy them in Buffalo. Well, it did happen. The Saints just absolutely, on both sides of the ball, shut down the Bills and just ran through them. And it was just an incredible slaughter. And it was so much fun that I think the Saints deserve the some recognition as a potential, Super Bowl contender at this point. I mean, I think I would, if I had to change my Super Bowl predictions right now. I mean, right now it's Vikings Jaguars, right? I that was kind of a joke, but if I had to do a serious Super Bowl pick right now, I would argue that Saints Patriots is going to be a rematch, but it might be much better than the Week 2 version. I mean, that could potentially be a case, and it'd be awesome because this Saints team has just been incredible and so much fun to watch and so much chaos almost with this offense. Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara, just a two-headed monster at running back. They even had a third guy running in for a touchdown. Drew Brees threw no touchdowns, but ran in for one. This is just a powerhouse, and it's been fun. Bills, I think we kind of are starting to see that this Bills team has been vastly overrated now. And if they can't beat the Chargers next weekend, they're going to be sitting at 500, a team that was sitting at 5-2 not too long ago. It's going to suck. And I feel for Bills fans. It's just, what are you going to do? I mean, this is a team that was really outlasting their expectations, winning a lot of lucky games, and now it's really catching up to them. They're still in the AFC hunt. If they can continue winning games, could get back on track, then maybe it could work out for them. But this is a struggle for sure. Moving forward to keep an eye on. Packers at Bears. The Bears lose it, of course. The Bears, we thought that we could beat a Aaron Rodgers-less Packers. But yet again, the Packers have their number. Brett Hundley had a nice game. Hey, look, this is what I was saying when Hundley, when he ended up taking over for Aaron Rodgers. Everyone wanted Colin Kaepernick to be signed, but I was like, look, Mike McCarthy drafted Brett Hundley for a reason. They don't just draft players just to draft them. They have a reason to do so. He was not just going to be a bench warmer. Or at least, very least, he's going to be someone that's going to be developed under the Mike McCarthy system, and he looked like he finally got it together. He didn't look terrible. I mean, or he didn't look amazing, rather. But he didn't look terrible either. Like he made the passes that he was supposed to make, for the most part. Was not holding onto the ball as much, and it was nice to see it happen. Now this team must continue winning games in hopes that by the time Aaron Rodgers returns, if he returns this year, that they're still in contention to make a run into the playoffs and potentially to the Super Bowl. We'll see. The Bears, 3-6. I think they're on the road to nowhere, but they're frisky. They're still a frisky team, and I think they're worth watching going forward as a spoiler role. As they face more teams down the stretch. But we'll see. We'll see how that ends up going. They will not face the Packers again this year, however. Browns at Lions. It looked at first that the Browns were going to get their first win of the season against a Lions team that had a winning record, or at least we're at 500 at least. But that didn't end up working out. The Browns blew it at the end of the first half when Deshaun Kaiser called an audible and tried to run the ball into the end zone himself at the goal line. That did not work out. Lions players laid on top of him and other Browns players to make sure the time ran out before they could get up and snap the ball, and they blew a scoring opportunity. They did score at the start of the second half. Took the lead 24-17, but the Lions just dominated from there, and this final score 38-24. And I mean, look, if you're a Browns fan, you're now looking at being the worst team in football again. uh, at 0-9. I don't really know what to say about this team, dude. It's just a shame. You think that there would be some turnaround, but there doesn't seem like there is. I don't know who's got to end up taking the blame, but you know, I'd still like Hugh Jackson. I think he's been kind of all over the place with the quarterback decisions, but I would hope to see him stay another year. But maybe the general manager, maybe the office will change. Maybe it'll be a clean house. All of them goes. I don't know. But it's just a shame where Cleveland is as a franchise that they're still in the doghouse. No pun intended, but it's just they can't get out of their own way for some reason. Lions, though, much more optimism for them. Another franchise that's been around forever that hasn't made the Super Bowl, but 5-4, and the offense is gaining momentum, and hey, look, this is a team that has been generally fun to watch this year. Last few weeks hasn't been ideal, but but the past 2 wins have been nice, and now they have to build on that in order to get back to the playoffs for a second year in a row, and maybe they'll win the division. Who knows? A lot of interesting scenarios going on here, but the Lions are worth watching at the moment. Steelers at the Colts, a much closer game than I was ever expecting, but this is what happens when the Steelers go on the road. They just play crappy teams really close, and I believe the Colts were leading into the fourth quarter until the Steelers made a nice comeback, ended up kicking a field goal for the win. Their offense just has not been, as good as advertised this year, and that's really disappointing. Their defense has really been a major factor in them being at 7-2, and that team just generally concerns me. On that front, maybe there'll be something that turns around down the line. I mean, all things considered, though, like Le'Veon Bell is still, I think he's the leading rusher right now in the NFL. Antonio Brown's having a great year. Like, these offensive players are having a great year, but just together as a unit, they haven't been spectacular, unfortunately. So it's just, it feels like at some point they'll break out, but I don't know. Colts, we might get some Scott Tolzien action this week. I think because Jacoby Brissett's now in the concussion protocol, which they kind of screwed up, which, I mean, it's the Colts. They always screw up quarterback injuries. So, yeah, Colts are 3-7, and they're probably a few more losses away from really being out of it if they're not already out of it. I don't think they have any hope this year. Another AFC South team with no hope, the Texans, 3-6, just got beat down by the Rams, who now moved to 7-2. The Rams kind of started off slow in this game, but they definitely built on that momentum, and the Rams defense is just having a fucking roll. Like they're just really kicking butt in the past like 3 or 4 weeks actually, and it's much more than just the offense being as lights out as it is. Robert Woods is definitely a great wide receiver 1, which is surprising. You would think Watkins would be in that role, or even Cooper Kupp, but Robert Woods, a great free agency addition for the Rams, and he's really proven his talent to that team. And the Texans, on the road to nowhere with Tom Savage as their quarterback. Maybe we'll see TJ Yates at some point. Falcons, Cowboys. Adrian Clamborn had a huge game, getting 6 sacks, and tied. I think that he's ranked now 2nd all time in single game sack totals by one player. I believe Derek Thomas is on that, and 2 others. I can't remember, because I know Derek Thomas also is number 1 with 7 sacks in the game. But Adrian Claiborne, now in some elite company, Claiborne rather. I think Patrick Claiborne from NFL Network is why I keep on saying his name. But Adrian Claiborne hasn't really been like an amazing, pass rusher in past years, and that was an impressive game. And it really took down and beat up on the Cowboys, who was without Tyron Smith. I mean, that's probably the biggest reason why Claiborne had as big of a game as he did. But it's still commendable because he did it against two guys, Chaz Green and Brian Bell. And now the Cowboys, without Zeke, not looking good. And they were out without Zeke, they were without Tyron Smith, and they were without Sean Lee for a lot of the game as well. And he looks like he's going to be out for a few games as well. This is a team that's staring at 5-7 now. If they can't get an Eagles win, can't get a Chargers win or a Redskins win in the next 3 weeks, you're staring at 5-7, and you may not even get Ezekiel Elliott back by that point. He might have to serve 2 more suspensions. And then who you have to face? I think one of them is the Giants. You probably could take care of the Giants. But I don't know. I forget who they play after that. But it's just going to be tough to get to the playoffs when you're going to be without a lot of your greatest players right now. And Dak Prescott is not to blame for any of this. I see people doing that, but he really is a phenomenal pickup by the Cowboys, and he's going to continue to be among the Cowboy quarterback greats, I think, going forward. But it's going to be a rough year for him without a rough few weeks here without a lot of his favorite players around him. So, yeah. Falcons also, by the way, I think they might be back on track. Maybe, I don't know. It was a hell of a game by them, and maybe we might see a turnaround with this team. I don't know. I'm not gonna get my hopes up, but it'd be nice, right, to have the Falcons back in the NFC mix. They're 5-4. They're not out of it. Not even close. Giants at 49ers. Jesus Christ. So the Giants are a mess, and they decided not to get rid of Ben McAdoo, which I don't necessarily blame them. I understand that they don't want to make any in-season changes because that's just not what they haven't done in the past. But I do think that the fact that there's so many reports out there of, players not trusting Ben McAdoo, that they're basically hating on the guy, they're not trying in games, why keep that around? I mean, if this was just one player, I could see it where they just get rid of that one player. But you kind of see when you're playing or when you're watching the game that there's guys that just give up, and it's not just one guy. It's really a shame, and you have to wonder why they would give him more chances to win this locker room over if they're so adamant that they don't want him in there anymore. I mean, there's some like Landon Collins and Roger Kamari. They're like, oh, no, we like him. We want him to stay. He's important to our team. We think he's a great coach. But all these off-the-record accounts, it just does not make the team look good. So, I don't know. I'm at a point where I hope, as a Giants fan, I hope that they just make the right decision going forward, because I don't know what the right decision is. I feel like Jerry Reese should deserve a lot of the criticism because some of the most crucial needs for the Giants coming into this season were not really met. They got Ingram, and that's great, and they did have that great defense for last year, but that great defense is not doing shit. I mean, David Harrison and Pierre-Paul, like they're doing an okay job, but it's not even close to what they were doing last year. And it's just not a good look for the team right now. I don't know what the future holds. I just think if they're going to do anything, they should clear house personally, I think. Whether that happens during the season or happens in January, I don't know. I don't know if it really makes a difference. Just do something. Don't sit around and just say, well, we're going to roll with what we have. Because clearly what you have is a dumpster fire. I don't think you want to be holding on to that much longer. As for the Niners, this is a team that finally gets a win after many weeks, and it's a big deal because you have this Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch duo that was very hyped coming into the season, and finally their hard work pays off. Of course, yes, it was against the Giants, but that does not mean that the Niners should be, just brushed off or anything. Like, yeah, they probably are. They're most definitely not going to make the playoffs, but the good news for them is that they're going to be, that they have C.J. Beathard, who has been playing pretty well, and if they decide to keep with him for the rest of the year, they are going to still be in games, because he hasn't really done a lot to, to push this team, or push himself to the bench at least. But with Garoppolo on deck, I mean, you have to wonder if they're going to want him to see him, because he seems to be the future of the franchise. I mean, no shit. But, who knows? Maybe they will be able to keep with Beathard. Maybe they'll move to Garoppolo. But great win, and I think they deserve a lot of credit to finally doing so, because it matters. You need some happiness in the season. You don't want to go 0-16 like the Lions and potentially the Browns now. So, well, yeah, it's bad news. Patriots at Broncos, a dominating effort by the Patriots, 41 to 16. And I think after seeing the Steelers kind of, limp their way to the finish line against the Colts, and knowing that most likely the current AFC playoff teams, Jaguars, Titans, and Bills. I mean, Bills were blown out, but the Jaguars and Titans, they were in no way look dominant in their wins. Chiefs have kind of lost their dominance after 5 weeks. After going 5-0, they've gone now 1-4 or 1-3 rather. Like, that's rough. And I just think the Patriots are going to be punching their ticket to the Super Bowl in Minnesota. I know it sucks to say that, because not that, like, the Patriots are fun to watch, but you hate seeing the same teams get in. But who's going to stop this team right now? I mean, don't get me wrong, there's certainly a chance, and we've been surprised before. I'm not going to rule out the fact that the Patriots might not make it, but it just seems like that's the direction that it's heading. And I don't know if they have another loss on the schedule. They may. I don't know. But this is, their offensively have just been insane. Tom Brady, just, the huge with him. Just incredible effort. They make, teams pay for their mistakes. And that was very evident with all the Broncos' failures on special teams. And then the defense, I still don't think they're dominant, but they certainly are getting better, and better is really where you want to be at right now, and continuing to improve from there. So great news for the Patriots, and just bad news for the Broncos. They have an easy schedule going forward, but it's a bad team. It's a rough team to look at right now. And speaking of rough teams, the Dolphins are just, how are they 4-5? They are just pummeled by the Carolina Panthers on Monday Night Football. A fun evening for Carolina, who are looking so dynamic on offense. They now move to 7-3, and they may get Greg Olsen back, so that offense is going to look better. Their defense is the best in the league. Panthers, hey, another team that could be easily an NFC representative in the Super Bowl. There's just so much fun about this NFC. Panthers, Vikings, and the more fun ones, I think, Saints, Rams, and the best of the best right now, the Eagles. All 5 of those teams are incredible to watch, and I'm so excited to keep watching them. And I don't really care who of that group makes it to the Super Bowl. I genuinely don't, because I think all of them are fun and exciting, and it'll be really interesting to see what happens to them. And I mean, of course, you still have the Seahawks in the mix and the Lions in the mix, and I guess you could say Cowboys, Falcons, Packers, like all like last year's playoff teams are certainly in it. But the other five who haven't been who were in the playoffs last year, they're looking like they're almost locks for it. But hey, again, we'll see how the rest of the season plays out. But they're fun. I'm looking forward to it moving forward. So, all right, 35 minutes. There you go. Wait, wasting so much time. I'm not gonna do any special segment now because usually I like doing that with Gocubs. So I'm gonna just go right into the picks here. By the way, Gocubs and I tied last week 11-3, but because of my Team Chaos loss, Gocubs gained some ground in the points game. He now leads 36-30. In terms of the records, in picking records, Gocubs 89-57. I'm 88-58. So lot of work to do on my part to get back in this. And I already know his picks. I know my picks, and I gotta say, there's gonna be some disagreements this week. And this is my chance. This is the battle I want to win here, and to get back in this. I hope. We'll see. But let us start with the Titans at the Steelers, a game that is between two teams that I think offensively still have a lot to prove. One defense has been incredible. The other is led by former Steelers defensive coordinator and legend Dick LeBeau. And so this is going to be a fun game. I hope it's a fun game at least. I'm going to go with the Steelers in this one, and I'm actually going to lock this one up. I just think that the Titans have not proven to me that they can really compete with great teams. This is going to be their toughest game, I think, for the rest of their schedule. So I think they'll end up being fine down the line, but I think the Steelers are going to teach them a lesson of who's the cream of the crop of the league right now. Not that I have a ton of confidence in the Steelers, but who knows? I think that they are in really good shape to win it. And meanwhile, Gocubs also picks the Steelers as well. So, next up is the Chiefs at the Giants. If there's any questions here, we are both going to be going with the Chiefs. Just dominant, a much more dominant football team than the Giants, and their team's going in different directions. Although the Chiefs are on a losing streak, so I don't know, maybe, but the Giants are a mess. If the Chiefs lose to the Giants, they might as well not even make the playoffs at this point. Let's move forward here. The Buccaneers at the Dolphins. This was a Week 1 game that was postponed because of Hurricane Irma. I was very excited for that game before it was canceled. Now, knowing how the Buccaneers and Dolphins shape right now, not really excited about them. But I'm gonna go with the Buccaneers, and the Mr. Gocubs is also gonna go for the Buccaneers, but he's gonna say the Buccaneers are his Team Chaos. And the reason why I'm going to allow him to make this Team Chaos is because the Dolphins are at home. They do have a better record. And what has the Bucs really done other than what happened last week to really say that they're, should get the benefit of the doubt over the Dolphins right now? The Dolphins are terrible, but the Bucs are kind of in the same boat. But hey, we'll see what happens. I'll give this Team Chaos though to Gocubs because I do think it's an upset. Because maybe the Dolphins will get back in the groove. I don't know. We'll see. Moving forward here. Best game of the week. Jared Goff versus Case Keenum. Rams, Vikings. This is a 7-2 battle. And this is going to be the start of a stretch for the Rams that will really decide if they're going to be, the real deal. If they're actually going to be good down the stretch and be a playoff team and, or be a legit contender at least. And I don't know if they will be. And I think this is going to be... they have certainly proven themselves as being a good team, and I think they will make the playoffs. And even I think they could win the NFC West. But I just think right now the Vikings have a stronger defense. And plus, since the Vikings are at home, I just think they have the competitive advantage overall. So I'm going with the Vikings. And meanwhile, our first disagreement of the day. Gocubs is rolling with the Rams, offensive powerhouse. Let's move forward. The Texans are going to be playing Tom Savage. The Cardinals are going to be playing Blaine Gabbert. I think for both situations, we're going to be rolling with Savage. Sorry, Gabbert. So both me and Gocubs are picking the Texans. It's an ugly game. Ugly game. If it was Carson Palmer and David Johnson versus Deshaun Watson, J.J. Watt, that would have been a great game. No, not in this instance. It's unfortunate. All right. Next up, the Redskins at the Saints. I feel like this game has the potential to be an upset, that there's a chance that the Redskins could make the push and maybe, drive the Saints out of their own stadium. But as the Saints had such a dominant performance, it would really be shocking if the Redskins pulled it off. But it could happen. I'm picking the Saints, and so is Gocubs, but Mr. Gocubs is going to be locking it up, guaranteeing the victory for the Saints. And I don't blame him for this one. I wouldn't say it's an easy guarantee, because, like I said, the Redskins, did screw him over 2 weeks ago. But I think he'll probably get it this time around. Lions at the Bears. The Lions showed some vulnerability last week against a Browns team that has won nothing. They got back in it and ended up dominating the second half, and so that was good. The Bears, they ended up having a pretty decent second half, but could not pull off the victory over the Packers. Could not come back and win it. But I actually feel in my heart that it's a rivalry game. I believe the Bears and Lions have split both the last year. I think they've split a lot lately. I'm pretty sure last year was one of those. I could very well be wrong when I'm saying that. But I think that the Bears, with the home field advantage, are going to be Team Chaos. They're going to Team Chaos all over the Lions, in my view. And just because I just think the Lions... How in the world can the Lions be competitive against the Browns? There's something to be concerned about there, but likely they'll end up pulling the victory. But the Lions will at least. But the Bears, I think, are worth a Team Chaos pick here. They're frisky. And I think Gocubs would appreciate that pick if he knew that I was doing that. I'll probably send him after I'm done here, my picks, to let him know, hey, I got your Bears, okay? Anyways, Jaguars at the Browns. There is no question about this one. We think that the Jaguars have finally broken the curse. And it is an odd week, though. They've never lost on odd weeks, and they'll continue not losing on odd weeks. Both me and Gocubs pick the Jaguars. Browns, hey, they were competitive against the Lions, though. Maybe it was more the Browns getting their act together than the Lions falling apart. I don't know. But I just think the Jaguars better team. So I'm rolling with them. Ravens at Packers. This is a tough game to pick, because if Brett Hundley continues to play well, and they're at home this time around, so they have a good chance against this Ravens team that has been kind of like, But I'm going to go with the Ravens. That's not a Team Chaos pick. I think the Ravens can come in with that defense and beat up on Brett Hundley, and they could get something going on offense. I think there's a chance that Woodhead may be back for the Ravens, which would be a big deal. I think that the Ravens deserve some hope here. You know, I know they had a tough time against the Titans, but I think the Titans could beat this Packers team, and I think the Ravens can do so as well. If they can deliver what they did against the Dolphins, for sure, I think they could do it against the Pack. So I'm going with the Ravens, but go Cubs. Yeah, I think he's probably in better company to go with the Packers here. He will be doing so. He's picking them, but I'm gonna go Team Flacco here. You know, he's not having a great year, but we'll see what happens. All right, moving forward here, the Bills at the Chargers. So now this is the late slate. At this point, the Bills at the Chargers. The Bills coming off of a just absolutely dominating loss, and now they have to go on the road all the way to the West Coast, to the exact opposite, it seems, side of the country, from the Northeast to the Southwest, and they have to play a Chargers team that I use the same term as with the Bears. They're frisky, because their defense plays well. And their offense struggles, but not to the extent where, you know, it's a concern. Like with like the Jaguars, they're a great defense, so no wonder the Chargers struggled against the Bills. I think they will have a lot better time. I still think though that after what I saw on Sunday, you know what? This is tough for me. This is really tough. I really want to go. This is tough. I really want to go with the Bills, but there's something about what happened on Sunday that kind of bothered me. I don't know if I can do it. You know what? I'm flipping my pick now. I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna go with the Chargers. The Chargers, to me, are competitive enough to beat this Bills team that I think is falling apart, unfortunately. Gocubs is going with the Bills. So there's another game that we are going to disagree on. Bengals, Broncos. Yeah, this is a rough game. You know, the Bengals just have not been able to develop a rushing offense. And really, they're going to have to rely on being in the air. The Broncos defense has been a big disappointment as well in the past few weeks. You know, they've just not been able to stop really good offenses, but I feel like they're going to have the ability to stop a not so great offense in the Bengals. Like I look, you know, we're not going to forget what happened against the Giants. And, you know, that I don't know what happened there, but that was weird. I think that the Broncos defense can rebound finally against the Bengals team that has just not been good. And I think in terms of the Broncos offense, this is really tough for me to justify, actually. I don't know. I just think the Broncos are at home, and they're in a much better shape right now. Oh, they're kind of sputtering though. Damn it! These last two games have given me fits now because I don't know if I want to switch to the Bengals or if I want to stick with my pick, which was the Broncos. Alright, I'm going with my gut. I'm going to stick with the Broncos because I just think that team could finally turn it around because they just have so much more talent on that team than the Bengals do. I just think the Bengals generally are a mess still. So, hey, prove me wrong though, Bengals. Prove me wrong on Sunday. Go Cubs. His faith is with the Cats. Bengals. And that is, by the way, that is 5 games that Go Cubs and I disagree on. What a call this would have been if all that happened here. But Oh, I'm ready. This is gonna be one hell of a week that I'm gonna cry when I go 0-5. Uh, Patriots at Raiders. Um, you know, I look at this game and I'm like, huh, you know, there's a chance that the Raiders could upset him. That, this was looking like a battle between two great AFC teams, and maybe that could still happen. But the Raiders have just been such a disappointment this year. I'm going with my always pick the Patriots mentality. And I'm going with them, and so is Go Cubs. Go Cubs could be Patriots as well. Eagles, Cowboys. The way the Cowboys looked versus the way the Eagles have looked lately, this is a no-brainer. I think the Eagles are going to win it, maybe potentially bigly on Sunday Night Football. Cowboys will fall, and Go Cubs also picks the Eagles. Falcons at Seahawks on Monday Night Football. Great game, but some stars missing. As we said, Richard Sherman, he's going to be out, and potentially Devontae Freeman for the Falcons is going to be out. There's a chance. I could have picked the Falcons, but the fact that Devontae Freeman's not going to be in is a concern, and I'm going to go with the Seahawks. I'm going with the home team here, and I think Go Cubs is doing the same. He's going to go Seahawks as well. So to recap, we agreed on all but 5 games. So the Steelers, the Chiefs, the Buccaneers, the Saints, the Texans, the Jaguars, the Patriots, the Eagles, the Seahawks, both myself and Go Cubs feel will win. Meanwhile, for Go Cubs, he will be team Rams, Lions, Jaguars. I'm sorry. No, yes. Yeah, he'll be team Rams, Lions, Packers, rather, Bills, Bengals. Well, I'll be team Vikings, Bears, Ravens, Chargers, Broncos. Wait, did I just fuck this up? Never mind. I don't know, man. Long story short, we're disagreeing on 5, and someone's gonna have more wins than the other, barring like a tie. For this week, and this is my Hail Mary right now. I mean, this is getting late in the season. I know I'm only down by 1 pick against Go Cubs right now, but I need to catch up with him. Yeah, I have to. I mean, the points wise, especially, I need to catch up with him. So I need to have an excellent week in order to really bring myself within striking distance and potentially strike him. Who knows? We'll see. Anyways, guys, I'm looking forward to Week 11, though. I think this is a much better primetime slate. And I think a really good slate generally. I mean, unfortunately, I'll be stuck with Chiefs and Giants, but Rams Vikings should be one hell of a game. And then the afternoon slate's alright, but it's certainly intriguing, especially with the Patriots Raiders playing in Mexico City. You completely forgot about that aspect. That's a neutral game, but should be fun. I'm looking forward to it all. And hopefully we'll get Gocubs back next week. It'll be Thanksgiving week. It will be fun. I will thank Gocubs for his friendship and for probably beating my ass handily in these picks. I'm so nervous, but I feel kind of good about some of these picks that I've made, and so we'll see. Anyways, guys, thank you all so much for watching. We hope you all enjoyed. Be good to one another, be kind to one another, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.